yes, I have gotten the new Vintage Collection Speeder Bike and Scout Trooper. And no, this is not the new one. This is actually the old one that they did in like that Discover the Force kind of package. I think this was like Toys R Us exclusive all the way back in the day. I want to compare it. Because I don't know how new this speeder bike is. I think it's new. It has like a new style of like display base, and I think the figure might be all new. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't watched any videos on this yet. I waited to get it because I absolutely 100% refused to pay the ridiculous $45 asking price. That is absurd. The original Black Series one retailed for $40. And I know that was like 10 years ago, blah, 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 but come on, man. If you think about it, that is ridiculous. I know toy prices are going up, but they're not going that up. I got it for $29 on Amazon, which I think is what this thing should have been in the first place. You know, because figures nowadays are like $15, and you can say the vehicle's like $15. That seems fair enough. So looking at it, I think the Scout Trooper might be all new. Like, this looks very new, very different. Pretty exciting. I'm definitely curious to get into it a little bit more. It might reuse some parts, it might not, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. But let us take out the speeder bike, just wrapped in tissue paper, per usual. And we'll see. They are recoloring this in the Mandalorian style. I do intend on getting that, but again, I will absolutely not pay $45 for it. So I think this is all new, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. It definitely... That hole definitely wasn't there. Yeah, this is an all-new speeder bike. Totally different from the one we got about 10 years ago at Toys R Us. So far, from looking at the underside, the old one looks a lot better. Even up here, there seems to be a lot more paint on it. It does have some really nice carbon scoring and everything on the surface, though. Like, look at the front. The front looks a lot better on the new one. But I don't know, certain details... I do think the old one did better. Mostly just on the underside, though. Like that metallic paint that the old one had. We'll see. We'll take a closer look a little bit later. But this one also uses the like the Black Series style display base, which is really cool. Where you can adjust the height of the speeder bike. Because it's got 3 ball joints. And, you know, you just plug it in. You just plug it in. There we go. And then you can, like, adjust the angle. You can adjust the height of it. You can have it higher up, you can have it lower. This base is really cool. The balls do look a little funny, I'm not going to lie. But they looked funny on the Black Series one, and, you know, it is what it is. Thankfully, the brake flaps are still functioning. I was worried they wouldn't be. Doesn't seem like the turret down there is anymore, though. Ooh, it just came off. Yeah, it seems like it's tabbed in with just 2 pegs, and it cannot be removed. Or it cannot be moved, but it can be removed. Speaking of removing, I kind of appreciate that. A little bit of tissue paper to protect the card back. That's pretty nice. So we'll set him back there. And we got some tissue paper. Got a little bit of turret action. I think that's it for the contents. Let's get that out of the way. And before we get into it much more, I just want to take a quick look at the box. Box is nice. Pretty typical for these like deluxe style vintage collection things. Some cool pictures. I kind of like I was just sitting right there. And it just shows you what you get. It shows you get a Scout Trooper included right there. It's just a classic, typical vintage style box. It's nice, inoffensive, good job. So we'll take a closer look at the speeder bike later. Let's actually look at this card back first. Nicely, it's unpunched. That's pretty nice. Typically, they don't even have punches in them anymore. They just don't even mold them with a punch. The Scout picture right there, very nice. It's really nice that we do have a Scout Trooper in the vintage collection. I actually don't think we've gotten one yet. I think it's the first time we've had a Scout Trooper in TVC. We had a Scout Trooper in like that Vintage Saga collection. I think this is the first TVC one. And again, I'm not sure how new this is. I know it shares like body parts in the mold with the like the Nick Sant Captain Rex-esque Trooper that comes with the Endor bunker. That's another thing that I'll probably get at some point, but not for retail price. Those vintage collection sets, those dioramas always go on sale. So yeah, let's just get into this. Let's cut it open. And I've shown it time and time again. This is my method for opening vintage collection boxes. I like to preserve the card back, so I use a hobby knife. And it's easier to do it like closer to the chest, which is funny because I'm using a knife. So it sounds more dangerous. But yeah, like at arm's length in a video, it's a little more difficult. But I've done this so many times, it's, you know, kind of child's play to me. Again, funny because I'm cutting with a knife. And then we saw that bottom. There we go. So yeah, we got that opened up, and card back's looking cool. On the back, we can see the like the Andor Clone Trooper wave, which is actually kind of nice because it's pretty, pretty spot on with what's coming out around the same time. So we'll put that there, and let's see how new this Scout Trooper is. I'm very curious. Ooh, a little bit of tape on the gun. I always loved the Scout Trooper pistol. It's just really nice, really tiny. So yeah, again, I don't know how new this is. I'm really looking forward to seeing how new it is. So definitely the helmet's brand new, because the helmet is large. Maybe a little too large, but it's definitely a new helmet. I think it has new legs, at least partially. It does have like an older style hip. So that might help with like riding the speeder bike. We'll take the old Scout off the bike and take a look at the body. He doesn't have wrist articulation. He has like forearm articulation. So I think he's like partially new, partially not, which is okay, because the old one was really nice. But I was kind of hoping for a new Scout Trooper. I was kind of hoping for an all-new Scout Trooper. But again, not that big of a deal. So yeah, let's take this old one off his bike so we can take a look. So yeah, this is the same mold they've been using for a while when it comes to the, like those gaming grade Scout Troopers and other releases. The Black Series single carded. The same mold. So looking at it, I think the bodies look to be the same. I'm pretty sure the bodies are the same. I think so. I think the hips are the same. But from the knee down, that is new, because they've added rocker ankles, which is really nice. I do appreciate that. I appreciate the rocker ankles. That's really nice. It definitely has a brand new head. I think everything else seems to be the same, but he has a new helmet, which is a lot larger. That helmet is a lot larger. And I know the original one was kind of smaller, kind of on the small side. Didn't really look that great. Let me get in close on this. It doesn't look that fantastic, the original one. Looks kind of a little wibbly. I think the new one does look better, but I think it's not perfect. I still think the visor's too big. It's not 100%, but it's better than the old one. I do think it's kind of false advertising, looking at the package here. I think that helmet doesn't look exactly the same. I mean, it's not that different, but it doesn't look. It looks bigger. The real one, I think, is bigger than that one. I don't know. It could just be me, but this helmet is objectively a little too large. Not the end of the world, not that big of a deal, but it's still a thing I have to point out, because this is a review where I'm like showing you things about it. So since it is like the same arms and hand, he still holds the little pistol good. It does have a lot of nice helmet articulation, though. I'll give him that. Hey! I love the Scout Troopers. They're probably my favorite original trilogy Stormtrooper variant. Just something about them. I mean, I've got the Hot Toys of them, too. That shows you how much I love them. They're really cool. I see one thing I kind of wish they would have made a new mold, because since it's older, it still has that big old white hinge, because the hinge also is shown on the shoulder pad. And they don't do that with figures anymore. The shoulder pad is a separate piece from the hinge. So that would have been nice if they had changed that, but again, not the end of the world. It's a little Star Wars action figure. I'm not going to complain too much about it. So this is the old speeder bike, and you can see it kind of has like this opening section here where you can see the engine. That was a cool feature, and I think the new one still has that. I'm wondering how different it is. Yeah, so the new one still has that, and you can see it's really similar but really different. And it's unfortunate they didn't paint any of it. If you're asking $45, you should paint the engine. I'm just saying. Because at least the old one has like some nice metallic paints in there. It actually looks kind of cool. And this is just really... It's not even, just gray plastic. It's dull gray plastic. This isn't even nice metallic gray. This is just dull gray plastic. So other than that, I don't think there's too much functionality to the new one. You see, the old one, I did really enjoy how the turret could move. Now, granted, that little hose, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief with the hose. It's not even in focus right now, thank you. Because you can see the hose kind of moves with the turret. But I really appreciated that, and the new one doesn't even have that. I don't think the old one had that could move. Can it move on this one? No, it's just kind of static. That's okay. It doesn't need to. So yeah, I think there's definitely pros and cons with the speeder bikes. I do think ultimately the new one is better. It is just a little better. It's a little more nicely done. But the old one, I would say, is better in the mechanical detail. The armor detail is definitely better on the new one. But the mechanical detail, like flipping them underneath, you can see. And the new one has a big old screw there too, and the old one didn't have that. Now granted, it is like with a sculpted circle, but still. The old one didn't have that screw. I mean, look at that little detail right there. And then just CE. CE. It's not bad. Would I recommend spending $45 on this? Absolutely not. Ridiculous. Hasbro's vintage collection prices are so bad, I can't. Like, I seriously, I posted it on my community tab when the multi-pack for the 212th went up for pre-order. I added it to my cart. I did my shipping info and all that. It was going to be $72 after, there's no peg holes. Oh, that's unfortunate. There's no pegs on the speeder itself. So the only way he's staying on is with the grips. So that's a development. Because see, the old one at least had peg holes. Or pegs. So yeah, it's a little dicey. But he does sit on it really good. He does sit on it good. So yeah, it's definitely pros and cons. This isn't like the definitive speeder bike. I wouldn't really say this is like marginally... It's not significantly better than this old one. But it is a little bit better. I do think the base really helps its... Blah, blah, if I can talk. I really think the base helps its case. There we go. My tongue did not want me to rhyme. I think it was saying absolutely not, do not rhyme. But I did it anyway. So yeah, I feel like in almost every TVC review nowadays, I have to mention the pricing of them because the pricing is ridiculous. It just is. $45 for this is absurd. Absolutely absurd. Do not recommend it, $45. But at $29, I think that's decent. Could be a little better, could be a little cheaper. Ideally, I'd like to see something like this at, $25. But, see, look at this. That doesn't have a base, and this one has a base. So, I think presentation-wise, just from that base alone and the updated helmet, the new one is better. The new one is the better set. I will give it that. But it's not significantly better to a point where if you have this old one, and you're like, I don't really know if I need the new one, you don't need the new one. You don't need it. But again, I don't have too many speeder bikes in my collection. I saw this as an opportunity to get one that I could have with a diorama at some point. Maybe they'll release a set with like Leia or Luke on it. That wouldn't be too bad. Again, it would be $45, which, bad price. Do not suggest, do not recommend. But yeah, it's a good set, just really expensive. It's just really expensive. I'm very happy I did not have to pay that price for it. Because, come on, we're after tax and everything... $50? About $50 for something like that. Absurd. That speeder bike, especially where they cut corners on the paint and everything, is probably worth one figure. So, $15 figure, and I'm ignoring the fact that they're 17 or 18 now, because that's ridiculous. $15 figure, $15 speeder bike, $29, $30 set. Perfectly fine. $45, get out of here. And like with that 212th set, seriously, the price on those has gone up about $15, a whole extra figure. But you're still getting 4 figures. And don't tell me, the price of oil, blah, blah, blah. I've seen so many other toys not mark up their prices like this. It's Hasbro and their greed. That's what it is. The CEO himself has said he wants to increase their profit margins, and the best way to do that is to increase the price. It's not the cost of oil. Other toy companies have kept their prices for years and years and years and years. Look at McFarlane Toys. They still run the same kind of retail price that toys were back in the day. McFarlane Toys nowadays, like, you can still get basic figures for like $20. And 10 years ago, McFarlane would have had figures like that for around $15 or $20. They haven't really raised the price much. It's just silliness all around. The market is insane right now. Hasbro is suffering because of it. They're changing their package. They're changing the package design back to plastic windows because the sales are that bad. We need to understand Hasbro is struggling right now. Hasbro is struggling. They have not really seen good growth in a long time. So they're raising the prices and trying to keep us interested and engaged. And I will support their vintage collection line. I've already bounced out of their Black Series years ago. Marvel Legends, I've bounced out of that. Hasbro has me on a chokehold with Transformers. They've got me on a firm chokehold there. But even then, it's like, okay, one little final rant. Because Hasbro, especially with the Disney licenses, I feel like the Disney licensing price must be astronomical. Because that 212th 4-pack for $60, absurd. It's basically retail price now. It used to be a good value, but now it's retail price. And for those not engaged with Transformers, here is a picture of a Transformers 4-pack that is coming out exclusive to Target. And Target exclusives for Transformers, more often than not, are obtainable. Keep that in mind too. But this is a 4-pack. A larger figure that retails for $35. And then 3 smaller figures that retail for $25. These figures even have bonus alternate heads, which is normally not something that Transformers toys get. So at the retail price, this set, 3 deluxes at $25 each at $75. And then a Voyager at $35 would make this a $110 set. And if it was a Hasbro Black Series or, Star Wars set, they would probably bump it up to $120. But because this is the Transformers team that actually cares about giving us good deals and giving us quality products, they made this set $78, which is essentially 3 deluxes and a Voyager for only $3. Insanely good deal. The more you buy, the cheaper it should be. Not the other way around. And Hasbro Star Wars does not understand this, and they're suffering because of it. They're absolutely suffering. And I hate that all of these videos just go down into a rabbit hole of talking about the price. But it's important. The prices of these items are important. This set, I think, this was like $20 or $25, maybe around $30 when it came out. Maybe, because it was a Toys R Us exclusive, and Toys R Us always loved marking things up. But still, I understand things are more expensive now. We're in a, post-pandemic world, and we're still feeling tons of effects from it. But you gotta reach a point where it's like, you gotta stop making excuses, and you gotta start understanding they're just riding this horribly priced train. And they're riding it to their grave at this point. Because a lot of people are jumping out. If you have me, one of the biggest Commander Cody fans around, one of the biggest fans of the 212th, saying I'm waiting for a sale on a set with Phase 2 Waxer and 3 212th Troopers, you have a major problem on your hands. Alrighty. There we go. There's my review. There's my rant. I'm sorry I had to do it. But it's getting ridiculous. And you may have noticed there's less Star Wars videos on the channel nowadays. It's because I'm buying less. I need to prioritize, and I'm still giving tons of money to Hasbro for their Transformers, because I still think they're killing it in that department. But man, Star Wars is struggling. They are struggling hard. And I'm even debating, getting out of Black Series. Like, the Clone Troopers. I need to cut corners. And I'm thinking, do I even need to collect Black Series clones anymore? I don't know. I don't know where this is going. Stressful times, but hey, cool toy. Cool toy. Just don't pay $45 for it. Alrighty, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great one. Special shout out to channel members, as always. Thank you all so much for the continued support. I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm sorry I get ranty. I got to sometimes. Have a good one. Bye.